Hello, my name is Elliot Gu. I'm editor of The Energy Strategist and Personal Finance and MLP Profits. I co-edit with Roger Conrad. I'll talk a little bit today about the MLP sector again. MLP, of course, stands for Master Limited Partnership. These are really high income securities. They offer yields averaging about 7 or 8% right now. And they tend to be involved in the midstream energy business. Now, what's meant by that, of course, is that they're involved with pipelines that transport natural gas and oil around the U.S. They're involved with the storage of natural gas and oil at terminals or natural gas storage facilities. But one other business that's very important and often overlooked is something called gathering and processing, or G&P. Now, basically what this business is that processing is to natural gas what refining is to oil. When you produce raw natural gas, it's mainly composed of methane, but depending upon where exactly that particular gas reserve is, the characteristics of that gas can differ widely. What I mean by that is there's a group of other hydrocarbons in the natural gas stream called natural gas liquids, or simply NGLs. Now, NGLs includes a wide variety of different types of hydrocarbons. Examples include propane, ethane, butane, and a product called natural gasoline, which can actually be mixed with conventionally produced refined gasoline to boost the octane and improve the performance of the gasoline. Now, these NGLs are quite valuable. In many cases, they're more valuable sold separately than as part of the natural gas stream itself. When gas is injected into the interstate pipeline system in the U.S., it has to meet certain criteria. One of those criteria is the energy content of the natural gas. In other words, how many British thermal units of energy are contained in a cubic foot of natural gas, or a million cubic feet of natural gas. Now, to meet that standard, pretty much all natural gas has to undergo some processing. Companies have to remove some of those natural gas liquids, which are very high in BTU content, to bring that gas into compliance with the pipeline. But the other part of that is a step called fractionation, which is actually taking those NGLs and separating them out into their components. So you have a barrel of NGLs, you fractionate that into a certain amount of propane, a certain amount of methane, and other NGLs that might, or rather ethane and other NGLs that might be out there. And oftentimes those NGLs can be better, more valuable sold separately. So what are some major NGLs out there, and what are they used for? One of the most important is something called ethane. Now, ethane can be used to make a key petrochemical called ethylene. Now, ethylene sounds complicated. It's actually just a basic building block for all sorts of products that we use every day. One of the most important, of course, being plastic. We make plastic out of ethylene. It's the basic building block for all sorts of plastics. Now, you have a choice. You can make ethylene out of ethane, produced from natural gas, or out of naphtha, which is refined from crude oil. But if you look out there right now, crude oil prices are very, very high. They're over $80 a barrel. Natural gas prices, in contrast, are very, very low. They're about $4.50 for a million BTUs. Now, even if we adjust the barrel of natural gas to equate it to the value of a million BTUs, oil is trading at many multiples, record high multiples, compared to natural gas. Now, what that means is that most processors most petrochemical processors would rather make ethylene using ethane rather than naphtha. So what we're seeing right now is actually a lot of petrochemicals processors in the U.S. switching over their operations so they can burn more ethane in their plants. They can use more ethane in their plants rather than naphtha. That's driving very, very strong demand for ethane, a key NGL. Now, there are a number of MLPs actually involved in processing and fractionating natural gas to produce these natural gas liquids. Now, traditionally, this has been a very commodity-sensitive business. If petrochemical demand suddenly drops, you can see actually what's called ethane rejection, meaning that companies don't even bother to process the ethane out of the natural gas stream. They just try to leave as much of it as they can in and still meet those pipeline standards because it's just not worth much as a separated product. There are other times like now where petrochemical demand is ticking higher. The U.S. has actually become a pretty important exporter of petrochemicals in recent years, and we're seeing pretty strong demand, especially from the emerging markets, for things like plastic. And ethylene produced from ethane in the United States can be quite profitable. Right now we're seeing very, very strong demand for that, And that's supporting any MLP that has exposure to actual processing of natural gas, the storage of natural gas liquids like ethane, and the key thing, of course, is the fractionation of those NGLs into their constituent components. So one thing to look for when you're looking for MLPs out there is MLPs that are involved in those businesses, the GNP, gathering and processing. Any MLP that's out there involved in that is seeing pretty strong demand for their products right now. The other important thing about this subset of MLPs is a lot of them offer pretty high yields. The reason is because these businesses are commodity sensitive. Therefore, that additional risk means that they tend to offer a little bit higher distribution yield for investors. So that's something to look for. High yielding MLPs involved in the GNP business. Thank you very much.